Alright, so the next step is sanding all of my pieces. I wanted to do this before I assembled because once this is all put together, it's going to be very hard to get into all the nooks and crannies of the pieces. So what I did here was using the orbital sander, which is hooked up to the air compression system. I sanded everything to 100 grit just to get a nice even base. Make sure all the tool marks are gone, make sure all the burn marks are gone, and like I said, it's going to save myself a lot of hassle in the end. I'm still going to have to sand once it's glued because there will be squeeze out that I need to get rid of and things I need to clean up, but this will get everything to a relatively even consistency, and it will make my life easier in the long run. Alright, the next step is breaking the edges. So if you look at this piece I'm holding up, it's got really crisp, sharp corners, and while at a glance you might think that looks really nice, it's not what we want to end with. We want to round over the edges, that way they don't have that sharp line. So here you'll see I'm going to be using a router with an 1/8 inch round over bit, and that's going to get rid of that sharp, crisp corner and replace it with a rounded over edge. It makes it so one that the finish adheres much easier and much nicer to the piece. It makes it so it's more comfortable anytime you touch this piece. It's your hand's not going to be digging into a sharp corner. It's going to have like a natural roundness to it. The last thing is if anything were to hit the piece, if it's got, or if you were to drop it, if it's got a sharp corner, you're much more likely to chip, whether it's the finish or your piece itself, or to dent the wood in some kind. So here you can see that one edge that I just ran, and compare it to the other side, which I haven't done. The roundness, that's what we're going for. So I'm going to do that on all the pieces, and then I will show you again after all four sides of this piece is done. So using the router, one thing you want to keep in consideration is you always want to feed the wood against the rotation of the bit. So that's why I'm always going away from where I'm standing. I'm going towards the opposite end. The one exception for that is when I need to go back and get just the very first corner. Sometimes I will come towards me, but you have a lot less control when you're going with the direction of the bit. Basically, if you're going with the direction, at every time the bit spins, the blade catches the wood and is trying to push in the same direction that you're moving. So it's very easy for you to lose control and for it to kind of jump towards you. And this machine, it has a simple on-off switch. Once you turn it on, it stays on until you physically press the off button or unplug it. So if you lose control of this machine, it's not going to shut itself off. So you might have a bit that's kind of flying around. Anything it hits, it's digging into. It spins at thousands of RPMs. It's not going to like bump up against you and just glance off you. It's going to do some lasting damage. So you need to be very careful with how you're using these machines. The other thing is, like I was just saying about the bit, you want to keep your fingers away from the moving parts. So if you take a glance at the router as I'm using it, my fingers don't ever go inside the cylinder. So here we have, this is the first finished piece. All four of the edges are rounded over, and it's got a nice look, a nice feel. So this is what I'll be doing to every single piece. There's one exception to that. The places where the half lap joints come together, I don't want to break those right now, because if I do, by the time those pieces go in, then you'll have roundovers meeting up with other roundovers, and it's not going to give that flush look anymore. So for those, I'm going to have to wait until everything is assembled, and then I'm going to hand break those with a piece of sandpaper. Right here, this is just a piece that there's a little bit of burning on it, which is those black spots. If you go too slow as you're going over this, what's going to happen is you're going to get friction burns. With any of the machines, you probably saw some burns on the other pieces. Any of the machines, if you go too slow, you will end up burning the wood. You can get it out with sanding, but it just makes more work for yourself.